title battle between Manuel Gonzalez, who retired last time out, and Aaron Canet, who took 10th. The winner being Brazilian star Diogo Moreira. And in Moto3, it's as competitive as ever. And whilst Jose Antonio Rueda leads the standings by 71 points over Angel Piqueras, it was Piqueras who was in form in Austria a week ago to take victory. Kiko Giles here, Elliot York next to me, and we're going to be taking you through the opening Grand Prix session here at Balaton Park. The excitement of a new destination is always present in the MotoGP paddock, and of course, that doesn't just mean the circuit, but the area and indeed the country. Hungary has welcomed MotoGP with open arms, and so far, it's been rather pleasant.
It certainly has. Good morning, Kiko. Good morning to everyone watching along as well. It has been a pleasant visit to Hungary so far. Thoroughly enjoyed it. First time in this country. I think for a lot of people it's one of the first times coming to Hungary, especially to this part of Hungary as well. Balaton Park, a beautiful, stunning, one of the biggest lakes in Central Europe, and a real hot spot for holiday makers and tourists and Hungarians who are coming to enjoy the Hungarian Grand Prix, a long awaited return to this part of the world, and it's a unique circuit, let's put it that way. We're obviously going to learn a lot more about it in the upcoming sessions. Managed to run the track on Wednesday, getting my days mixed up already. So I got to learn it a bit then. Obviously, World Superbikes came here a few weeks ago as well. So these sessions in the morning are going to be really intriguing to see who adapts fastest. In Moto3 of course, and in Moto2 and MotoGP as well. I've had Moto3 on already, but looking forward to seeing how this one plays out in the Moto3 Championship chase. A crucial weekend last time out for, as you say, Kiko, Angel Piqueras to finally get that victory after 7 races without a podium. He was back on form, looked super impressive all weekend long, and he's got that 25-point all, an important one too, with Rueda missing the podium.
It is worth noting this place is brand new. It's only a couple of years old, and of course this year hosted the first World Championship events, back with World Superbike just a few weeks ago, and now here for MotoGP, confirmed on the calendar for 2026 as well, so we'll be coming back here to Hungary. It's been a long absence, and as I said, last time out it was the Hungarian, the home of the Formula 1 Hungarian Grand Prix, but we're here in Balaton Park, the tourist resort of the country, let's put it that way. Budapest, of course, massive visitor numbers year on year, but that's a city break. If you want to be by the lake, then you come here, the largest lake in Central Europe. So my geography teacher once taught me. Yes, I did listen. The championship standings in Moto3 in the first 13 rounds. Well, Jose Antonio Rueda has been in fine form. Every race he's finished, it's been inside the top 8. Last time out off the podium though. Angel Piqueras taking some points out of that championship lead, down from 85 to 71 with that victory last time out. So first podium since Jerez and his first win since the sale, and on that day Rueda DNF. Munoz has been in mighty form in third. David Munoz looking very strong indeed, and he's tied on points with Maximo Quiles, our superstar rookie, and another rookie, Alvaro Carpe. That's your top 5. Just outside we've got Joel Kelso, Ryuta Yamanaka back on the podium last time out. Tyre Furusato, Sunday consistency puts him 8th. Fernandez, strong but still lacking that first win in 9th. Teammate David Almanza in 10th. We're ready to go here. The session has started at Balaton Park. The first ever Grand Prix session is underway here at this brand new Hungarian facility, and what a joy and an honour it is for myself, Kiko, and Elliot next to me to be bringing you the action. All the riders make their way back out. For a lot of them, this is the first time they'll be able to ride around here at Balaton Park. It's short, it is sharp, it is very technical. Moto3 looks like this could be a real ideal track for them.
Yeah, I spoke to Ryuta Yamanaka yesterday, and he said it looks a really fun track to ride on a Moto3 bike. A lot of the GP riders spoke to yesterday, Mark and Pedro in particular, were saying it's a very different sort of circuit to pretty much anywhere else we go to on the calendar, but it's good to have different circuits. We know it's pretty tight and technical and pretty much different to a lot of other places, but it provides a different challenge, which is good, which is what we want to see in a World Championship. This is the Sector 2, the section through 5 at the sort of hairpin at the end of the back straight, then you come through 6 left-hander, then 7 and 8 is quite a fast sweeping double right-hander, and then this is into turn 9 and 10. Turn 9 is where Marc Marquez crashed twice, I believe, when the Ducati riders came here on their Panigales a few weeks ago to just get some important testing on board. So watch out for turn 9, and then this is through up turn 11 where they're on that close sort of down into 12 and 13. Tight it is. All the chicanes here are pretty much 90-degree angles, so it disrupts the flow a little bit, you've got to say, but also provides overtaking opportunities, and I say just a completely different challenge to pretty much wherever we go. So going to learn the track as we go through the weekends. This is towards the end of the circuit, and just intrigued to see the different lines and how it plays out and who adapts quickest, because it's going to be important, obviously, heading into Friday afternoon. Not got much time to learn this track and get some lap times on the board, and hopefully the weather stays dry as well.
It's worth noting the chicanes are added as like a second configuration of this track, because if we'd gone with the original proposed layout, the runoff areas are just a little bit too tight perhaps for motorcycle racing, so they've added chicanes to bring the speeds down a bit. With that, obviously, they create overtaking opportunities, but as you say, Al, the flow not as prominent, particularly in the second half of the lap. The final turn 15, 16, 17, particularly when you look at it on a map, is a real headache, because you don't really know what circuit layout it's going to be. But they've got it dialed in pretty well. World Superbike came here, and there was absolutely no dramas at all, really, with that, apart from turn 2, the pile-up, but that turn 2 hasn't changed at all. Anyway, this chicane is more of a really big, fast S's. That was added. We were proposed to go all the way around the car loop, but that didn't happen either. And then this chicane's been added down here. The chicanes, they may well be very tricky, and they've been brought in for safety as much as anything, but they have also, as we saw in Superbikes, created a good few overtaking opportunities. So particularly for the smaller classes, Moto3 and perhaps Moto2, we could see some good battles going into that.
Exactly that, yeah. Slow chicanes aren't really aesthetically pleasing, let's put it that way. Turn 2A and 2B in Austria, for example, isn't the most aesthetically pleasing, because we already have a sector 4 yellow flags. So that is coming out of turn 14, though we've just seen this gaggle of riders come into 15, 16 and 17. So as someone ran on, as someone crashed early doors, it looks like Marcus Uriarte has either gone down or had a little bit of an issue. Jacob Ralston set the first contested lap time of the weekend of 1:53.028. Excited to see how much that is chipped away already. 1:51 to 1:50 coming in. This is a replay then of what happened to Uriarte from the drone cam coming into turn 15, and the front end just washed away. Potentially a cold tyre perhaps for Uriarte, or just finding the limits early doors.
He took a lot of curves on the way in, and he's quite high up on them, and they get a bit more ripply the further away from the track you get. So Marcus Uriarte is the first crasher in Grand Prix racing here at Balaton Park. Super slow moto, he gets a 5.8 for star for that for sure. First lap time that was set by Jacob Ralston, so that's all now down in the history books. David Munoz, though, after the first run, straight down into a 1:49.911. The average speed here very, very low. That's what we're expecting it to be. It's just about 4 kilometres in length, 3.9 if memory serves me correct. So it is a short track here. The chicanes have added a bit of time onto that, so expect the times to improve right the way up until Sunday here, and as these riders try and work out the best way to tackle Balaton Park.
Watching David Munoz then on the 64, getting the best with David Almanza early doors. As we said at the top of the show, Munoz is on a superb run of form, and we'll obviously come to talk about what happened in Austria throughout Friday, and Munoz was super impressive. Didn't have the best of qualifying, of course, did Munoz. Qualified down in P14, but found a way to pick his way through the group in the latter stages. I think with 4 or 5 laps to go, he was 1.7 seconds away from that top group, and eventually finished third. And call it a controversial penultimate turn 9 move on Maximo Quiles, which caused some anger, let's say, down at the Aspar team, especially Jorge Martinez. Aspar was particularly displeased with what happened at the penultimate corner. We're just going to watch Ralston though around this lap. We're not sure whether we're going to jump on board with him, but we'll watch the young Australian who picked up more points back at Austria. But for Munoz, Pico, it was a fantastic race, and my personal opinion on what happened at the penultimate corner on the penultimate lap was just a bit of hard but fair racing. I think you potentially agree as well. I know a lot of other people agree as well. I get why Aspar were quite annoyed, and I think with it being Munoz, they felt like not again. But for me, Munoz was pretty aggressive to the inside, a little bit of contact, but he stayed completely on the racing line, didn't go off circuit. And I think we are quick to jump on things that Munoz does because of what happened in the past, and sometimes rightly so. Absolutely not defending him at all in some scenarios, but in this scenario, I am going to defend him because you look at what Quiles did at the final corner at the Saxon ring, at the inside of the way, that was aggressive, contact was made. So I think we've got to give credit sometimes where it's due, and Munoz does deserve some credit sometimes. And to finish on the podium, once again, he's in the richest vein of form of his Grand Prix career. 5 podiums in the last 6, now up to P3 and the overall standings, level of points with Quiles and Carpe. I just think you've got to sometimes give credit where it's due, and Munoz deserves all the credit for his race on Sunday.
As Max Quiles got a leg to stand up in regards to being aggressive. Red Bull rookies, he was given numerous warnings for being overly aggressive. He has been elbows out in Moto3. That's racing. David Munoz, he was within striking distance. He didn't do anything reckless. He came up the inside, turned 9 to overtake an opportunity in Austria, and he got the move done. I have absolutely no problem with that at all, and I think Max Quiles is more effective. He doesn't like losing. Yeah, to be honest, because I think Quiles, he led a lot of that race. He was the pace setter for a lot of it, found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, and unfortunately for this rider on your screen, the number 28, he was just a little bit perhaps too polite in the closing stage. Oh, he has a front end save at turn 2, but he's going to have to go some to get Balaton Peroni reaction to us up here in comms for that one. But no, I think he had a very good race. He was angry. He was angry for a lot of reasons. Time for Rosato came through, but Max Quiles was also responsible for setting the pace of the group, and they were caught by riders from behind. So you can't have it all your own way. I think the one who could be the biggest one aggrieved out of everything was Valentin Peroni. Also led the race, was right there with 3 laps to go. And he was on the outside of Quiles, who got shoved by David Munoz, and it was chain reaction. I can imagine Peroni's feeling pretty aggrieved, but I don't understand why Quiles is. The door was open, he was making a pass on Peroni himself, and I think he's just annoyed that perhaps he didn't get any net gain in his track position. But he'll come back this weekend, Quiles, and try and do one over on David Munoz. We were speaking of before we came on air that this kind of scratchy circuit is probably ideal for someone like a Max Quiles and a David Munoz. So hopefully on Sunday we get a little bit of argy-bargy and fisticuffs.
He's getting busy as Quiles already. Obviously set the pace so far, 1:48.965. He's had a couple of moments on this lap 2, so pushing on early doors. Ran wide, I think it was turn 9. We're going to get a replay of what happened. That is
turn
coming
2.
through turn 2, and this is the save. Very decent save, as you said. Elbow down, front end trying to wash away the bike, trying to slide down the road. Quiles doing well to keep that upright. Now this is coming into turn 9. That's the fast kick through turn 8, one of the fastest parts of the circuit. This is the hard braking zone into turn 9. Gets it all crossed up a little bit wrong, similar to what we saw Yamanaka doing a few moments ago at the same corner as well. We're going to see plenty of that through the weekend, especially today when the riders are just trying to find the limits, the braking markers, of course, as well. One thing I will say, just to round off the chat on Quiles and Munoz, I think it was more Aspar who were annoyed, the team manager. I think Quiles he's grown a lot this year as Quiles. I think we all had a little bit of question mark because, as you say, in the Rookies Cup and GP, he had a little bit of a reputation for being too aggressive, let's put it that way. But Quiles could give it out, and sometimes when you give it out, you've got to be able to take it as well. And I'd say I don't think Munoz did anything wrong. It was the penultimate lap, all fighting for a podium. Exactly, pretty close between Munoz and RB Alexander on the number 19 type for Rosato just behind there as well. It was a good race, but yeah, nothing wrong for me. Munoz and race direction agreed as well. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Stayed on the circuit, aggressive, firm, but pretty much fair enough. And we're going to see plenty more of that hopefully throughout the year, and that's the sort of racing we want to see. We don't want to see too much contact, of course, but sometimes it is a contact sport, and we want to see good, hard racing. We want to see these riders really fighting tooth and nail for the podium spots and being aggressive at times. That's exactly what it was.
And we want to see Max Quiles angry that he's been beaten. We want to see all the riders angry that they've been beaten. There is no this kind of school sports day, oh, everyone's a winner. No, they're not. P1's your winner. That P1 last time out was Angel Piqueras. Jose Antonio Reyna finished 5th. I'm sure Jose Antonio Reyna wasn't happy with his race, but that's racing. We want to see riders angry that they weren't quite there. It's good for characters, it's good character building for them as well. And yeah, you shouldn't be happy that you finished second when you've been leading for most of the race either. So I'm happy Batskyla's had a little bit of a oh dear me, and that was one of the that is tyre for Asad, one of the Honda Team Ava machines, and has I think unfortunately skittled Guido Keeney in that point. Tyre for Asad, so he's only little, but he does pick up that bike pretty easily there on his own. Furusato wheeled back onto the track, and he'll try and get that bike going, and we're going to get a replay of it now. By my reckoning, Furusato loses it all on his own. He's on the extreme. He clips the back of Leonardo Bruzzo, who's back in for Vicente Perez, who has left the team. So the replacement rider for the number 89 of Marcus Ariati is no longer with the Grid MLab squad. And in comes a Bruzzo again. And unfortunately, Bruzzo just tagged there. Furusato going down, and Pini left with nowhere to go. But Pini's back on his wheels, and doesn't look like he's too bothered by all that.
Yeah, just got a little bit wrong there, the time for Sato. At turn one, late on the brakes, finding the brake markers in the limits, early doors, and thankfully everyone involved in that is all okay. But a couple of crashes so far then, one for Uriarte down at the final chicane, turn 15 and 16, and look at 17 up the front straight, and then you get to turn one, which is where Furusato just crashed. Having Munoz, who we've obviously spoken about plenty so far in the session, it's a little Molly Dynovolt intact in 1-2 at the top of the times, as Eddie O'Shea then gets it a little bit wrong down at turn 15. This is the final corner, flick it left through turn 17, and then fire it towards the start-finish line. It's not a long run to the start-finish line here, so if you do make it out of that final corner in the lead, as Munoz extends his advantage in FP1 to over half a second, if you do come out that corner in the lead, there's not much time to get slipstreamed and beaten to the line, which the riders of course know. So you want to be parking yourself in the best position possible coming into that final chicane and sector, because there's not much manoeuvre time, and this is Pilar and Munoz on track together once more. It's going to be a battle all season long between the 64 and 28.
David Munoz, 100 points back in the championship. Is he still in title contention? His recent form would suggest so, but 3 DNFs at the start of the season not reflecting much where he should be on the points tally.
No, exactly. He had a pretty disastrous start to the year, didn't he? David Munoz, unfortunately, but has really got himself together. Like I say, best run of career, 4 podiums in a row, 5 podiums in the last 6. He's not finished lower than P6 in 2025 when he crashed across the line, of course, and sometimes hasn't crossed the line. I think we can't at this stage completely rule out Munoz, Piles and Parquet, and of course the Peras as well, who is 71 points away from the Raider. Very, very difficult task, a massive uphill task at hand for everyone chasing, including the Peras, because even though the Raider had a quiet weekend at the office, come the end of the race he was still right there and finished half a second away from the race win, which he didn't look like doing all race on. And give it another lap, and the Raider would have been right there in the podium fight. Of course, there wasn't another lap, so that's just a lot of what ifs. But the Raider still came good on Sunday. But I do think that Munoz, Piles, Parquet and Peras have a say in this championship chase, and all it takes is for to come to a new track. The Raider doesn't really gel with it as much as the others, loses more points, and the others start gaining momentum, and then we go to the flyways, which is anything can happen really when we go over to Japan, Indonesia, Australia and Malaysia for a double header back in Europe with Portimao and Valencia. So definitely not ruling them out, but very, very tricky to be world at this stage.
You mentioned a new track. Leopard Racing will be very happy about that, because every single new track that we've been to since 2015, they've been on the podium now, and I'm sure I cannot take credit for that stat. That is our colleague in the media centre, Lorenz Munoz, who is the press officer for Leopard Racing. It was back in Thailand in 2018, it was Lorenzo Dalla Porta, and then it was Dennis Bodger in Portimao 2020. Indonesia in 2022, Bodger again, and then India in 2023. Any guesses?
India 2023, racking my brain. Go on, get on Missouri.
Mario Massia.
Yes, of course.
So, can they make it 5 and 5 since 2015, of course? That will be the next question. So, interesting times. Leopard as well, from memory, only came into the paddock in 2015, and Argentina was new in 2014. But the first time they ever came to Argentina, which is still relatively new at that point, then the Prince, of course, won. So Leopard, liking new tracks. I'll tell you what, they're going to need to, because last weekend, a little bit of a disaster. Adrian Fernandez, we didn't see it on TV, but he was closing, got the gap down between 4th and 5th. The lead group before, and him chasing pack in 5th. To about 6/10 of a second, massive front end moment, had to pick the bike up, go through the turn 2A and 2B chicane, in the end finishing further down the field, and David Almanza just had no feeling at all right the way through the weekend, and really struggled to make passes, didn't have a good setup during the Grand Prix itself, and also I think was getting pummeled around a little bit further down the field, a few aggressive passes being landed on the 22. So the first race back after the summer, not the easiest one for the Leopard racing team, and it's that point of the season now, riders start talking about contracts for 2026, for the years ahead. They need, for sure, they're going to guarantee themselves somewhere on the grid, if it's not in the Leopard team, they need to both start picking up. Oh dear me, we'll pick that up in a minute as David Munoz picks that up at turn 1. Good moment and good save. He's on the inside of Scott Ogden now. Yeah, I tell you, I do love David Munoz's approach to a Friday. It's almost like he doesn't know what day of the week we're on here as he comes through. This is the fast stuff through turn 7 and 8, I think that is, and this is down towards the 9-10 chicane. But just back on Leopard racing, they need a reset this weekend.
Yeah, they do, and it does sound like, especially Adrian Fernandez is searching for a ride next year, potentially having that Amanda too with a couple of people I've spoken to. They do need a podium return. Leopard Honda synonymous with fighting for victories, fighting for championships every single season. And of course, it started really well with Adrian Fernandez, back-to-back podiums in the first 2 races, and then he's not stood on the podium since. He's picked up his form recently, got that top 6 in Brno, really crucial points on the board ahead of the summer break, and then, like you say, just had a massive front-end moment out of shot in the latter stages, and that just cost him all confidence on the front end, sector 4 yellow flags.
And yeah, out of shot, we've got yellow flags in the final sector. I think that's all recovered and okay. You can see the pit lane exit. That is because originally the shot was going to go around a bit further and flip back in on a right-hand corner onto the front straight. I think like the opposite to Termas. The problem is there's a big wall there on the right-hand side, and that wasn't really feasible for bike racing. But we have both yellow flag down there in sector 4, but it's in now. 15 minutes to go in this session. It's a Luca Moli, Dynavolt Intact GP1-2 with Mignoff and Pini. Almanza's third, Balaton Peroni in 4th place, ahead of Fernandez, Kilos, Piqueras, Carpe, Foggia and Yamanaka. Let's just talk about Balaton Peroni, if we can, for a moment. Points in every GP since Lusail. He's been very, very strong. Race leader and podium contention at P7 last time out at the checkered flag. And really, that wasn't the true story of the full weekend. Never outside the top 3 across all sessions last time out, Balaton Peroni. Definitely a rider who is finding form and finding his feet. The more experience he gets on a Moto3 bike.
Absolutely. Debut pole position last time out as well. Points in every race since we went to Austin. 7 top 10s in the last 10. Now, for any rookie, that's a job well done. For a rookie who hasn't stepped on a Moto3 bike before this year, that's an excellent job from Peroni. And you mentioned him being on the wrong side of the sort of battle between Kiles and Munoz. He got shoved wide as well when Munoz came up the inside, and then made a mistake on the last lap of turn 4 as well, which cost him even more time for Peroni. And he was in that front 4 throughout. It was Kiles, Piqueras, Yamanaka and Peroni up the front, setting the pace. Then, of course, when they started to squabble a little bit, the chasers caught up, and then we all know what happened in the final stage. Peroni, just losing effort. It was a superb performance over the Red Bull Ring from the Argentine, and he's impressing everyone so far this season. More yellow flags in sector 4. That's where Dennis Foggia is coming through now.
Yeah, not sure exactly what that's for. Maybe it's for a little bit of gravel, maybe somewhere off the line. As we come through the final corner, I can't see any misdemeanors there. Ah, yes I can. Casey Gorman at the top of the shot. So Casey Gorman has had a problem down at turn 16 and 17. Foggia comes across the line but does not improve his lap time. Foggia, another one, qualified really well last time out. Crossed the line in 7th place, but unfortunately a penalty due to track limits, I think it was, that ended up a little seconds. That put him down to 13th. But Dennis Bodger, really in the top 10, solid top 10 rider now. Just be looking for a few more podiums here and there.
Yeah, 3-second post-race penalty for pretty much saying now I don't fancy doing that on that before and seeing it track limits at the end, which pushed him outside of the top 10. But another decent weekend for Bodger, who's obviously come into this year after 2 years away in Moto2, so always difficult to reacquaint yourself with the Moto3 machine. And I think everyone expected probably a little bit more than what we're so far seeing from Bodger, but now he is consistently in that top 5, in that podium fight, which is good to see from the experienced Italian, who I think will be also another rider searching for a ride next year. Keyless is obviously going to stay that far, but here is Marco Morelli potentially moving to Aspar next year as well. The exciting Argentine who we got a nice glimpse of over at the Czech GP and really impressed over in Brno as well. So that's a very exciting rider potentially for Aspar next year. Moto3 musical chairs will be being played out over the next few weeks. I'm excited to see what comes of it. Plenty of rumours swirling around the paddock. Moto2 seems to be in the side as well, and the knock-on effects of that will be Moto3 seats get decided. So do keep your eyes peeled. This is Red Bull KTM Tech 3 in tandem behind the Red Bull KTM IO boys.
Yeah, it's not a Red Bull Rookies Cup, don't worry. Talking of Red Bull KTM, of course, we mentioned last night Jacob Wilson perhaps on the market as well. So that's another name. And really, Jacob Wilson, tough start to 2025. He was obviously injured from the private test, missed the first 2 races, but has been solid in the points. A few top 10s here and there, a couple of second row grid starts as well. Points in the last 5 races, 13th, 12th, 8th, 14th and 14th. But really, Jacob Wilson, maybe not with that kind of form as high up on everyone else's shopping list as perhaps he should be, had he had probably an easier start to 2025.
Yeah, just struggling for a bit of confidence, Jacob Wilson, just suffering with the same sort of problem they have been throughout the season. I think it's on the front end, if memory serves me correct, what he was saying over at the Red Bull ring for Wilson. He is searching for a ride next year. Tech 3 will be having 1, potentially 2 new rides as well. Pironi has been linked with the likes of MT Helmets, MSI. So as I say, plenty of swapping will be going on in terms of rider movements in Moto3. But I think Wilson's had a very solid year so far. He'll be wanting more, and he's definitely capable of more as well. I always think back to the Aragon GP where he suffered a great dose of bad luck when he was looking really, really strong. His best weekend of the year in that podium fight, and then unfortunately he had a very minor bike problem that caused him to suffer a DNF on the 12. He's chasing a very similar bit of bikes up ahead of him now, whereas Wilson on times, can't find him, P12, so a decent session so far, but fully expecting Wilson to get a ride, absolutely no doubt about that. He's obviously shown in his rookie year, he was impressive, and he's been impressive in parts this year as well. As we say, the start of the year was pretty much a disaster. To come back from such a massive injury is a real tough task for the young Australian. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he can stay injury-free for the remainder of the season, gain some more confidence on that bike, get a decent ride next year, and then really show what he's capable of, get that podium and victory that we know he can do in Moto3 next year. But just unsure what colours Wilson will be riding in next year in Moto3.
Let's just talk about Italy for a moment. Casey Gorman, very, very impressive last time out at the Red Bull ring. He's looking at really in at the deep end in Moto3. Very, very respectable performance. Chasing points, not quite grabbing them, but definitely putting himself in the shop window for next year. Straight in and above quite a few riders that would have been quite concerned for their rides. With Casey Gorman coming in and instantly being quicker without any prior testing as well. A lot to be said about that.
I was very impressed with O'Gorman. I think a lot of people were as well. I spoke to Marco Grana, the 658 Squad Force team manager in Q1, and he was saying how impressed he's been with just coming into the team and adapting quickly and just looking really quick from the off. A very impressive performance for O'Gorman all weekend. I did try and speak to him after Q1. He narrowly missed out on gaining entry into Q2, and I think it was safe to say he wasn't best pleased with missing out on Q2. He shouldn't have been too disappointed, of course, because he showed great pace and great promise, but obviously he's a racer, he's a fighter, he knows what talent he possesses, and after having such a strong weekend, he narrowly missed out on automatic Q2 entry on Friday as well. But yeah, O'Gorman wasn't best pleased straight after most people very, very impressed with O'Gorman, and it does sound like we've got a great chance of being on the grid full-time next year as Carraro crashes down at turn 11. That's the long lap penalty loop, the hairpin at the top end or the bottom end of the circuit, whichever way you look at it. Turn 11 being confirmed there. So Carraro, I imagine, just a simple front end washout. This is turn 9 and 10, and then turn 11, where the camera is based, is where we're going to see the riders come through. Now this is turn 11. That's the long lap penalty loop just there.
Just one thing on the chicanes as well, because they all fold back in on each other. Gravel will be on a bit of a watch list this weekend up in race control. So gravel, we saw it a little bit in the Superbike weekend. The riders say crashing on the way into the lane, the bike comes across, smashes a load of gravel all over the place and back onto the track the other side, and they will be keeping an eye on that one. Yellow flags again in sector 1, and this time it is David Almanza who has gone down. Sector 1 takes you across the start and finish line and all the way down the back straight halfway down. So David Almanza, turn 2 has gone down. A really tricky second stint of this 2025 season for Almanza. He's up in 4th place at the moment, but the last 7 minutes of his session in jeopardy.
Turn 2 is where we saw Quiles have that nice little save about 10-15 minutes ago. This is turn 1. Eddie O'Shea getting it wrong. A few of the riders getting it wrong down there as well. You can just see the marks on the asphalt. Here we go. Get a replay of what happened to Carraro. That's Carraro then going down to turn 11. Almanza just ahead, and then half a lap later on the next lap, it was Almanza who was tipping the front end on a left-hander. Here we go. This is turn 1 for the 22. Gets that all nicely done. Then picks the bike up, flicks it left, and then it goes pretty early, doesn't it? That washed out. No chance for Almanza to try and dig his elbow in or his knee into the ground and save that one, and he can't get the bike back up and running either. So it's just over 6 minutes to go. I feel it's unlikely we're going to see Almanza back out on the track for the remainder of the year.
The good thing is, if he does that again later on in the day, but a bit earlier in the session, is turn 2. There is an access point there to come back into the paddock, and the Leopard team this weekend are in the tents down there. So he's crashed not too far away from where he needs to be getting back to. But I think that is Almanza's session pretty much done. If we look at Leonardo Abruzzo taking up the centre shot, but what we're really looking at is Almanza's teammate Adrian Fernandez, who's currently in 5th place. We see it so many times. The Leopard machines are very, very closely matched, but maybe not later on in the weekend. It's more of a Friday thing this than the Saturday and Sunday. But Adrian Fernandez last time out at least showed good pace and good nous to bring back the bike in one piece and not override, because I think the front 4 had brilliant pace, and Fernandez really to start bridging that gap, and he almost got the job done. Very, very impressive. One of the more impressive rides we've seen of him this year.
The Fernandez of old in the start of the season, wasn't it? Really impressed. He was doing it on his own as well. No slipstream, as you say, Kiko. Just really impressive, wheeling in the group ahead of him, and then unfortunately it was out of shot. I wish we got a replay or some kind of photo or something of what happened. It was, I think, through the chicane at the left-hander, turn 2B, where Fernandez made some sort of mistake, whether it was getting out of shape on the exit or losing the front on entry, which, as we said earlier, cost him a lot of confidence on that front end to really push in the latter stages to go for that podium, which was unfortunate for the 31, because for Fernandez and for Leopard Honda, absolutely vital that they stand back on that podium for confidence and team morale pretty soon as he goes into P2 in the session. 3/10 off Mugnot's 1:45.571, and really this provides the perfect opportunity for riders like Fernandez, who have got a lot of experience now in Moto3, to come to a new circuit, level playing field for everyone, and try and get the upper hand early doors, as they're doing now. Pini dives at the inside of his teammate David Munoz. Munoz won't be too impressed with that, but Pini having an impressive session as well. We've got 2 rookies inside the top 4, another one in P6 in Maximo Quiles, Parquet up inside that top 9 as well. We've seen the rookies really show all weekend, all year long, Pico, and as I said about Fernandez, and we've said multiple times now, just a level playing field, and that's perfect for the rookies to come here without any prior experience. For the other riders like Rueda, who is on your shot now, and just attack it and see where they can go.
Feeney versus Munoz, that's a fight I'd pay to see all day long. Just completely top 10, Ricardo Rossi at the moment. Now, you sat next to him on the plane now, didn't you, on the way over here to Budapest from Barcelona. So perhaps you've worked a little bit of magic there for the Ricardo Rossi, because Rossi has really struggled since his very strong performance in the sale, which he always goes well at. So Ricardo Rossi 10th, at least it's a bright start to action here at Balaton Park. We're in the final 3 minutes nearly here for the opening session at the Hungarian round here in 2025. Pini has just gone top and nabbed a couple of tenths advantage over David Munoz. We wait for Adrian Fernandez to come to the line. You can see it's so short, the run to the line. Does he improve his time? Yes, he does, but stays third. So Fernandez moving up the gears a little bit here towards the end of this FP1. A little bit of a moment down in towards turn 1. This is up towards turn 2 where his teammates fell. He gets through it without too many drums. Peroni is still fourth. Almanza, who is, I think, back out on track as the pit icon, has left his name on the timing tower on the left-hand side. Kelso is sixth, ahead of Quiles, and then Angel Piqueras, who we watch now and pick up as he comes to the line, the number 36, and your winner. Last time out, Piqueras moves up to 4th place, so that's not a black time at all there from number 36. Foggia 9th, Carpe 10th, Rossi now outside that top 10 as we get yellow flags briefly, but not too much longer. So I wonder if someone's just had a big moment somewhere out on track. It was that brief, we didn't even get the sector on the graphic. Then again, our graphic might have just had a little bit of a seizure itself.
Yeah, certainly. Piqueras moving at speed 4 and obviously a wonderful victory. Last time out for the 36 and a timely one as well. He said he was riding really well, felt comfortable all weekend long and really hit the ground running on Friday morning with Angel Piqueras. That was the first time he's topped Friday so far this season, and after losing a lot of ground to Rueda coming up to the summer break, so that was to hit the Red Bull ring, gain 25 points and gain some important points back on the road. He didn't finish on the podium, finished fifth in the end as Rueda. That was a real confidence boost for Piqueras, who still obviously has a mammoth job at hand to try and reel in Rueda in the next few rounds, but do feel that was really, really crucial for Piqueras to get that monkey off his back. 7 races without a podium after a record course, and he's been close, he's been thereabouts always. Piqueras just hasn't quite had that extra tenth or two in his hand. He's been struggling with overtaking in the group all year long, but he didn't have any issues in overtaking and winning the race over in Austria. So Piqueras expect him now to be fired up for the rest of the season. Now P2 71 points behind, but real impressive weekend. The Piqueras, I think, that we expected to see for 90% of the season really stood up over the Red Bull Ring, which was good to see from the 36 perspective.
Up to P2 with the first and the best lap time. He's on his last flying lap now, so expect Angel Piqueras. Rear end, front end, he nearly lost everything all in one. So Angel Piqueras, he's not on a flying lap now, I can tell you that, but change of underwear perhaps when he gets back in towards pit lane. Guido Pini will follow him down in towards 15, 16 and then 17. He's on a flying lap. This should put him further up the road. Indeed, he's 3 tenths at the third sector up on his own best time. Pini drives to the line and gets across it and takes off another couple of tenths. So 147.070 is what we're looking at the moment. Foggia moves up into P2 as well, and a few other ones. Kelso goes up to 6th place. We've got some personal best coming in elsewhere too, but really Guido Pini very strong in this session, particularly the second half. Angel Piqueras, he really got away with that one, didn't he? Down at turn 1, bit of a moment under brake, and then the rear charge come round as well. So yeah, just getting it all a little bit crossed up, but he kept it on the iron. The checkered flag has fallen here on the first section at Balaton Park for Grand Prix racing, and Guido Pini has topped the whole thing. Very strong stuff, and I love the all-time lap record as well. Of course, that is for Moto3.
Absolutely, yeah. Expect that all-time lap record graphic to be coming up a lot throughout the weekends. I drive Hines topping with the time so far. Pini 2.5 tenths clear. Very impressive stuff. Rueda outside the top 10 in P13 for a Sato late lap to jump up to P12, just looking at other notable names who maybe struggled slightly. No, to be fair, the riders who have been up there. Yeah, Yamanaka is one in P15, obviously podium last time out. We haven't really mentioned Yamanaka. We didn't really see him in that session at all, did we? Mark the start where we went on at turn 9. So we'll come on to the Japanese rider, of course, this afternoon, because it was a real impressive ride to arrive just behind Team Keras last time out. But another strong session for Keras, and when he sees Rueda outside the top 10, he'll just maybe have a little bit of a smirk on his face. And, yeah, this could be another chance to claw back some points in this.
Yeah, Rueda down in 12th will be not a concern, but he would have liked probably a bit of an easier session than that. David Munoz 4th, of course he led for most of the way, so David Munoz, we said, look, coming into this weekend, he's probably one of the riders that doesn't mind a dive bomb chance at a chicane, and of course David Munoz is right up there in the early part of the weekend. But Jose Antonio Rueda in 12th, he won't be concerned, as I say, but he will probably be trying to keep his powder dry, get through the session and go for broke race and get himself into Q2 directly, of course, after practice.
Yeah, exactly, no issues for Rueda. Just go out, learn the circuit, keep your powder dry, say don't make too many silly mistakes, don't pick up a little injury or crash the bike or whatever. So, nice, cool, calm and collected session from the championship leader. So yeah, I think we'll be expecting to see more from Rueda this afternoon. Weather looks like it could stay dry. It's going to be pretty similar to this all weekend long.
It is, hopefully. Of course, we were forecasting rain today. That seems to have abated. Guido Chini, it is, who tops that first session. P1 pin, it's an Italian 1-2 ahead of Achunga Spaniard, Chini and Foggia ahead of Keras, Munoz and Fernandez. Kelso and Pironi 6th and 7th. Almanza crashed on his way to 8th. Carpe 9th and Kides only 10th. Ricardo Rossi up in 11th place ahead of Jose Antonio Rueda, as we've said. Ogden 13th. Yamanaka up in 14th place. Furusato a crasher in 15th. Wilston O'Shea, Newby Carraro, another crasher. That was up at turn 11 in 19th. Detweiler, O'Gorman a fall of 2. Nepa, RB Aditama, the number 93 in 23rd. Uriarte Buchanan and Leonardo Abruzzo completing your FP1 classification. Kiko Giles and Elliot York. We're out of here and off for a late breakfast. Lewis Sotheby and Neil Morrison are moving in. Moto2 up next. Enjoy.
Say a very good morning to you. We welcome you to Balaton Park in Hungary as MotoGP returns to this beautiful country for the first time in 33 years. This historic 2025 edition of the Hungarian Grand Prix is officially up and running. We've already seen some Moto e-bikes out on track, Moto3 kicking off their weekend earlier on this morning. Next is the turn of Moto2 and their field to explore the limits of MotoGP's newest venue. This is round 14 of our 22-round season. 4 more pairs of back-to-back races to come after this one, as we take in our penultimate European doubleheader next time out with the stops in Barcelona and Misano before we head to Asia, Japan, Indonesia, followed very quickly afterwards by Australia and Malaysia. To November we complete our 22-round season with Portimao and Valencia, where we hope we will we'll still be asking the question, who will be crowned Moto2 World Champion in 2025? Events of the Red Bull Ring last weekend, perhaps posing more answers potentially to that question than we had going in, with Diogo Moreira launching himself right back into the championship picture with a consummate performance at the Red Bull Ring, leading essentially from start to finish to take his second Moto2 win. Certainly good luck deserted the points leader Manu Gonzalez, and injury struck after a Saturday morning crash at Aaron Canet. Or did Diogo Moreira take full advantage, cutting a 60-point deficit to Manu Gonzalez down to 35, essentially cancelling out the damage done to his championship campaign with the crash and subsequent penalty across Germany and Czechia. But it is a very warm welcome to you from Hungary. Absolutely thrilled to be here. For the first time for ourselves and the first time for Grand Prix motorcycle racing for over 3 decades. This is be Neil Morrison will be talking you through Moto2 this morning. Manu Gonzalez, whose name has been popping up in dispatches once again for a potential MotoGP spot. We'll get onto that as we go through the session and through the weekend. Some good news potentially on the horizon for Manu Gonzalez, but good luck deserted him big time a week ago.
Yes, it most certainly did. Good morning to everyone watching around the world. Fantastic to be back in the country of Hungary for the first Hungarian Grand Prix since 1992, as Lewis said. And, well, it looked like there's a real championship on the horizon. Championship battle that could go all the distance until the end of the season for this Moto2 category. With the dramatic Austrian Grand Prix, and Manu Gonzalez really will be kicking himself still. But, I broke the radio that was the cause of his retirement. And somewhat ironically, the broken radiator caused by a crash involving his teammate on the first lap. We'll come on to Senna Aegis, who is unfortunately not here this weekend in a little bit. But yeah, really kind of freak circumstances that prevented Manu Gonzalez from scoring any points, and good points, in the Austrian Grand Prix.
Well, a big smile for Aaron Canet. That's because, I guess, given the circumstances, he kind of got away unscathed at the Austrian Grand Prix, not just in terms of serious injury, but also damage to his World Championship campaign. 44 was upside down, really, wasn't he, on the Saturday morning in Austria. And for the weekend that promised plenty for Aaron Canet, where he looked one of, if not the fastest rider on Friday, he suddenly had to turn his attention to serious championship damage limitation. And in many respects, he got away with one, given what happened to Manu Gonzalez.
Yeah, he really did. Canet was looking at losing big points. Gonzalez, after that big crash on the Saturday morning, left him feeling worse for wear going into Sunday. So his neck was feeling a little sore, just was a bit out of sorts going into the race. Still managed to pick up 6 points for 10th place, which would prove crucial towards the end of the year. We mentioned that Senna Aegis had a horrible first lap crash in Austria, and it's a welcome back to Sergio Garcia. I've seen Sergio in the Moto2 category since the Aragon GP. He obviously split with the PJ Motor Prince MSI squad after Aragon, and has been out of work since then. Not only want to see Sergio here this weekend in Hungary, but there was confirmation yesterday he's going to be back on the grid as a full-time rider in 2026 with Racing Racing.
What a good 24 hours it's been for Sergio Garcia, and say the MotoGP squad on paper to pairing this up this weekend with Manu Gonzalez and Sergio Garcia. Of course, we wish Senna Aegis all the very best and hope to see him back in action for the Catalan Grand Prix in a couple of weeks. This weekend, as you've got mentioned on screen, of the rider pairing for Goscinny next season, a reunion of sorts.